John Tortorella seems to think that the NHL All-Star Game is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked about the complexity of the NHL All-Star Game rosters this year and any of his players being left off of it. And he made it very clear that he and the All-Star event do not mix, saying, quote, "Oh, I don't worry about that. The whole game, the whole weekend, I don't even watch it. I think it's turned into I'll leave it at that. I really don't care." Is Torts on the money when it comes to his assessment of not just the NHL All-Star Game, but All-Star games in general at this point in time? I understand in yesteryear, All-Star games as an exhibition when there was much less crossover between leagues. They might have meant something a little more. Now, I'm kind of with Torts here. I think All-Star games are relatively and largely unnecessary.
Yeah, the only All-Star game that I will watch is the NBA All-Star game, and it's because they literally lean into the bit. Like, they admit, yes, this is a joke. We're gonna score 190 points, and it's essentially the Harlem Globetrotters, and it's an exhibition out
Well,
there.
that's kind of what the NHL All-Star Game has become in
Yeah,
recent
that's
years with
true,
how
I
they
guess.
restructured it and to the fantasy element, and that's kind of what the NBA did as well with the fantasy element. Baseball, thank goodness, got rid of the stupid, ridiculous home field advantage in the World Series is on the line in the All-Star Game. I hated that so much because you could have, pardon me, you could have a 110 win baseball team not have home field advantage in the World Series because their league lost an exhibition game, which I thought was ridiculous. The NFL is doing away with the Pro Bowl as is. I think Torts is kind of on the money here.
I would agree. Yes. The Pro Bowl in particular, I mean, with all this talk of Bengals Bills being moved, I mean, clearly it's not sacred because people were talking about possibly pushing the NFL playoffs to have a one game only weekend this upcoming weekend of Bengals and Bills, and then they would just scrap the Pro Bowl altogether. So it stinks, obviously, for the city of Orlando that lost the Pro Bowl and now Vegas that has acquired it. If it's just there and it's not even a moneymaker. And that's kind of my question is like beyond the fact that the on the field doesn't matter, what are these all-star games doing? Like, I guess kind of attracting
I think an
tourism.
all-star designation is very important. I really do believe that. And
Oh, yeah, that I agree. I mean, Pro Bowl, All Pro.
mhm,
Yes.
I think having an all-star designation is significant, but especially when in some of these leagues where the fan vote is pretty much the majority of the vote, or in some cases like baseball, it's the entire vote. uh, you lead things up to be skewed, and people who maybe weren't deserving of an all-star selection get an all-star selection, or guys that were deserving get left out. The NBA tries to balance it out where they give percentage votes, fans get, medias get, coaches get. It all goes into the equation there, and I think there's value in how it has structured that. But I really think it's time to just do away with the games. If you really want to do something, maybe you just at the end of the season for every sport do some sort of let's do an exhibition. But I'm not sure. You know what baseball did for a while, which they haven't done in some time, the Japan series, where they would get
Yeah.
a team of all stars and go play against the best of Japan, and that was a lot of fun. So maybe if there were ways to incorporate a sport into a more worldly event, I think that could be pretty entertaining.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I remember as kids, and maybe it was because I was so into baseball, and I'm still a baseball fan, and I still obviously follow the Yankees religiously, but I was much more in tune in my middle school years. The World Baseball Classic, the first year that it occurred, Major League Baseball was pumping out all the promotions, all the content about it. Even I would say, like in 2013, when I was interning at ESPN UK, like they were pushing it over there because obviously for the European baseball, the European baseball countries, like that's a huge deal for them. But even that has kind of fell to the wayside. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, again, I don't think any all-star game is particularly that important in the United States right now. That's why I think Torts is Torts. We know he's somewhat abrasive at times, but that's also part of his charm. Total agreement with him on this take. I think all-star games are kind of antiquated, and the designation alone, maybe with some special events like a home run derby or a slam dunk contest or three-point contest or the skills competition like you see in the NHL, that stuff is fine by me. You can do some sort of exhibition weekend, but doing an actual game itself, where guys, by the way, can get hurt, and that has
Correct.
happened before, to me, it's just antiquated. That's how I look at it.
Then again, you could be Brandon Staley and still be playing your players in a regular season game that's meaningless and getting them
You
hurt
could.
there. So,
You could.
decision. But yeah, let's go to the Mike White revenge game in Gainesville where actually no, check that. That was against Georgia. So this is a couple of nights earlier for the Florida Gators. Todd Golden, of course, the new Mike White. Texas A&M goes to Gainesville and they warm up. They're getting ready to go. And then they realize they left the hotel and the managers had left their game jerseys there.
This is insane.
They double timed it back. They get them. The game was delayed 10 minutes. Officials did hit them with a delay of game penalty, by the way. They deemed it an administrative technical foul before the game could begin.
The game started 1-0.
Should Buzz Williams fire someone?
The game started 1-0. How often does that happen in college basketball or basketball in general?
Never.
They threw the opening tip-off and it was 1-0.
ESPN has fined you. They made you give a point.
This was insane. This is absolutely a fireable offense. Like, there are very few
especially because it was like the student managers, right? Like, I don't even know how much they get paid.
There are very few things that you just absolutely cannot play a game without. And jerseys are kind of towards the top of that list.
To that point, I don't know if you remember back, what was it, 2018?
We're not doing shirts versus skins here, Mia.
No. I'm talking about, remember the tragedy, or almost tragedy, 2017, I think it was, when Michigan at the Big Ten tournament, their plane went down and they had to like get them like, not the jaws of life, but to get them all off the plane that skidded off the runway, and their jerseys were still on the plane, like buried underneath.
That's a different circumstance.
So they had to play their first round game of the Big Ten tournament in their warm-up jerseys because they didn't have anything else.
Yes, that's a different circumstance.
That's what I'm getting at. That's the only other time that I can remember this a wardrobe malfunction ever happening in college basketball.
This is careless. Also, I don't care. You can get mad at me for this. Why do we need warm-up jerseys? Just warm up in your jersey. That's what we did in rec. That's what we did, coming up through the system. Warm-up jerseys are overrated. You got to change again. Your body was loose.
You got to look good. Look good, play good. You don't want to be sweaty out there. I would be sweaty. I'm always sweating.
It tightens up again. I'm not into that. I know it's a very Larry David style argument from me there, but come on now. Let's really get into the nitty gritty here. It is not so much just on the human error. It is the concept in general that I'm complaining about here on Out of Bounds.
Well, they like wearing, jerseys that have an extra saying on them, and it's an opportunity, in the NASCAR world for more sponsorships. So maybe that's what college basketball is headed towards.
You think? Everything college sports is headed towards where the money is, which is fine by me. I don't care about that. But I think this is absolutely a fireable offense. They need Texas A&M now. It hasn't been a banner year for Texas A&M athletics. Let's just put it that way. So all you got to do.
But they did beat Florida, despite not having their jerseys and being down 1-0 to begin the game.
All you got to do. Checklists from now on. What do we bring with us?
Post-it notes, personally.
Did we bring the Gatorade? We brought the Gatorade. Did we bring the bags? We brought the bags. Did we bring the jerseys? Let me check. Todd, we got the jerseys. It's not that hard.
If you want to see all our videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, click the subscribe button below. Otherwise, we'll start posting spoilers about your favorite new movies.